What's going on? Long time no see. Let's talk about the eight-figure fallacy, the eight-figure chase that everybody is on. And for some reason, this is a huge topic of conversation right now, but I want to set the record straight for you. Eight figures does not equal success. And I could tell you that from seeing it over and over again. I've worked with over 130 businesses in more than 30 states over the last 4 years. Eight figures, I can tell you for sure, does not equal success. What does equal success, I want to talk about for a brief second here. And for our businesses, what success, in terms of the way I define it and the way that we define it inside the businesses that we work with, people being happy and healthy profits, you can't go wrong with those two things, right? We want to make sure that our folks are fulfilled, our folks are happy, they're really enjoying the work that they do and the purpose and mission that they serve. And then we also want to be able to see very, very solid profits. And so doesn't matter. I don't know the gurus that are out there or folks that are out there saying that you're not doing business unless you're doing eight figures. Let that just rest, because whether you're doing eight figures or not right now, or you're someone that's trying to get to that mark, eight figures, the only thing that eight figures allows you to do is be able to cover up all the mistakes that are made, right? But then what ends up happening is whenever you end up building an eight-figure roofing organization, you end up having a lot of lack of profit because you're just making up for those growth mistakes and things that happen, right? So I want to talk about some truths with you, and I also want to make sure that I'm as condensed and consolidated as I can for the respect of your time. I think it's important to just mention that, I'm in the business of making sure, again, that people are happy and profits are healthy, and talking about profits, that we get to where we're doing seven-figure profits. That's the goal, right? We want to be in a position where we can really land consistent seven-figure profit years, or even seven-figure profit months. I've had the ability to be able to work alongside folks, and privileged to be able to do so, to see them cash in seven-figure months. And it's really an amazing thing to see. And the amount of momentum you can generate with that type of role is something to be seen. So let's talk about the truths. The truths are, and I'm going to go through these very quickly because I don't want to drag this out. I just want to talk about what are the things that you need to be focused on inside your business, okay? And the first thing is you need to make sure you get the right people. And so this is obviously, there's a lot of different ways that people go and talk about recruiting and making sure that, you're getting the right people inside your business. And yes, that's important. But I think placing the right person in the right role is a big piece, and also understanding the ROI of that particular individual. A lot of people ask me all the time, like, when should I hire and who should I hire and all that sort of stuff. That is one of the key pieces of you being able to grow strategically and understand how to be able to really put your business on a launch pad, so that you can get a lot more momentum with getting good people inside your organization, so that way things grow the way that they should, rather than forcing growth by throwing people at problems and doing things the wrong way. I've seen that so many times, and it's one of the biggest mistakes that an owner or a leadership team can make, is just trying to throw people at the mistakes that are being made and hoping that gets it resolved. It just doesn't work out that way. So understanding the ROI of the person you bring in, understanding that people are your profit. People are what's going to lead you to the profit that you're looking for, right? And so that's number one. Number two is you got to know your numbers. The biggest thing that I see, and it is so funny because we talk about these, eight-figure juggernauts, they're household names, or they're at least people that you look at and you're like, man, they got the 50 fleet vehicle fleet, excuse me, 50 vehicle fleet. They've got, all the things that seem to be going well for them, right? But they don't know their numbers. And it is a dangerous place. I can't tell you how many companies, in fact, all of the businesses that I've worked with, not a single one has had everything 100% put together. It's normally a decent mix with the folks that we work with, because we go through a pretty decent vetting process. But a lot of times, whenever you're going in and you're actually trying to figure out what are some of the key performance indicators and some of the really important data metrics that we need to know about our business, a lot of times they have no idea. They know their sales, or they at least think they know their sales. They think they know their accounts receivable and their accounts payable, which is usually overstated and understated, respectfully. um, and they don't truly know. And so that's one of the things that if I could give you anything besides the stuff I said a minute ago about the people and understanding that people are where you're going to be able to really put your business on a launch pad. If you don't know your numbers and where you're going, then you truly are just you're there's no pilot in the in the cockpit, I think is what it is. There's no pilot that's flying the plane. All they're doing is they're they're just guessing and hoping that there's not a mountain right ahead of them. So that's the second thing is know your numbers, okay? The third thing is you got to understand that process is extremely important. So process from the perspective of the way that I look at it is how do we communicate internally? How do we, when things get passed off, when something goes from marketing to sales, sales to production, production to billing, how does all that happen? And what are the interdepartmental communication channels and what does that all look like? And so, you hear about SOPs, you hear about documenting your process. You got to make sure that you understand who does what and how it goes, how the baton travels, right? When you're looking at it from the, I think it's the 4x1 or whatever they call it in the Olympics, right? When you're doing that first 100 meters, and you're trying to time it perfect, that's one of the biggest things that gets you to where you're able to get the lead on the next team, right, in that race. And so it's really important that when you are passing off those batons and making that full lap around the track, in essence, that it works seamlessly. And so you've got to make sure that the processes are not only documented, but that you follow, comply to them, and that there's good interdepartmental communication. As our industry, the number one thing that happens to inside of those processes is things get dropped from sales to production. So making sure that you understand how to set up proper job checklists and turn in sheets and all these different things, that's a really essential piece to making sure that the entire thing flows together. Okay. The other thing is OKR. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk about is your objectives and key results. If you do not know what you're targeting, if you do not know what you're going for in a particular 90-day time frame, typically that's how we base them out, is making sure that you have 90 days of time allotted to chasing certain objectives, right? If you don't have that lined out, that's going to be something that you want to make sure you do, because if you don't have something you're targeting in that particular quarter, and you're just shooting numbers on the board and hoping that you're going to hit them, most of the time you won't, because there's steps to this, right? It's not just hit 8 figures. It's not just hit $10 million, right? It's how do we get from where we are today to where we're going? And that's a big piece to it, is breaking that down into bite-sized chunks. Okay. So that's the fourth thing. And the last thing is really going to be, just talking about like the overall financial prowess of the business. I think that, financially speaking, and I know I talked about numbers a minute ago, I was really more so talking about key performance indicators, or KPIs, where we just need to know the vitals, the company vitals that we're really, looking to monitor and make sure that are in check. It's just like taking blood pressure, taking your pulse, right? We got to know that stuff. And so that's what I was talking about there. But the financial prowess being the fifth thing, you know, important bookkeeping. If you're not with a bookkeeper, get with a bookkeeper. If you don't have someone that's, helping you with tax strategy, do those things. But I think more than anything, understanding, how to process money and process things through billing, and making sure that we're keeping track of everything by job costing, by making sure that we actually know what our profit margins are, and making sure that we understand some of those accounts receivable cycles, as well as being able to get accurate numbers with all of our financial figures. That's a huge piece. I know that a lot of companies, again, will say that they know it and they know it intimately, but they really don't. They might know what cash is in the bank, but they take deposits, right? And deposits are just not here to do a masterclass around financials. It's certainly where we operate the most, but if you're taking on deposits, that's not money in the bank, right? You might deposit that check, but that's actually a liability on the balance sheet. And so one of the things that I see all the time is the robbing Peter to pay Paul method. We've heard it a million times, and especially when you're traveling and getting back to some of the core topic that we were talking about with 8 figures and chasing that, is there's so much of that robbing Peter to pay Paul action just to be able to grow to hit that. And the hope is that we grow and then we can sustain this and stay here, but then profit will kind of work itself out. And you should really be turning that completely upside down. You should be focused on what profitability you're trying to achieve, and then whatever the mathematics of the equation. I've done this in other master classes and things before when I've spoke on stage. If you understand what profit you're really after, the rest of it will work itself out, as long as you understand the entire understand the entire puzzle here. And so that's one of the biggest things that you got to make sure that you figure out, is what's really the financial prowess of my business, and really understanding those numbers. So those are the 5 things: people, knowing your numbers, KPIs, key performance indicators, making sure that you get that lined out. The third thing is going to be your interdepartmental communication, making sure that you have process, and process is essential in everything that we do inside the trades. OKRs, establishing short-term targets and then being able to capitalize on kind of a growth plan, right? Set the annual target and make sure that you're very clear on what that is, but making sure you're filling in, like, what are all the stops for me to get from here and where I am to there, right? And then the last thing is just the overall financial prowess of your business. If you focus on those 5 things, and certainly marketing and technology and other elements matter inside a business, but if you focus on those 5 things and get really, really good at those 5 things, it's very hard to fail, because you can see things ahead of time and before things start to kind of catch up to you. And it's a very powerful thing to be able to really own those 5 things. So implement that stuff. Don't get distracted with this 8-figure talk, because 8-figure roofing companies, again, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but I can assure you, does not mean success and is not the goal. I am very much into 7-figure profits, seeing companies see 20, 25, even as high as 30, 32% net profits. I know you probably think I'm crazy in saying that. You're probably like, how is that even possible? But there are certainly businesses out there that are doing that. And some of them are doing 8 figures, but some of them aren't, and they're doing very well. And they have great culture, and they do a lot of great things. And they have happy customers, and they've built a strong brand in their marketplace. So take some of that information, hope you implement it, and hope this information was valuable to you, and look forward to communicating with you and seeing you soon. If you have not already, take a look at the link below and check out the webinar. I'm going to be launching a webinar at the end of April 25th. I'm going to be talking about a lot of these things I talked about today, and it's going to be a very, very tight window to cover a lot of things, but it's going to be very impactful. It's gonna have a lot of value added to it. So I'm hoping that you got some information from this today that was useful, and maybe you'll attend the webinar series that we're going to have here at the end of the month, and it'll be a great time. So hope to see you there. Let's talk soon.